So thank you for doing this with me. Could you just introduce yourself? You could do either your name or stage name.
Oh yeah, I'll give you both. So my name is Darren, aka D-R3DDY, or some people know me as D-Rock, but my artist name is D-R3DDY.
Yeah.
I'm a music producer and a DJ and a little bit of a songwriter.
Okay. Do you do songwriting for your own production?
I have, yeah. I typically when it's for my own production, a lot of the times I haven't done like full songs, but I'll do like hooks and choruses.
Yeah.
Sometimes for my own songs, or I may just come up with the concept, or things like that. But yeah, that's mainly what I do for my own.
Okay. What inspired your name for?
So my name D-R3DDY. So like I said, people still call me D-Rock as well as D-R3DDY.
Yeah.
A lot of my friends, of course, because first everybody called me D-Rock, but then we made my artist name or producer name it was D-R3DDY at one point.
Mm-hmm.
But I know there's a lot of people, especially guys with D names, that go by D-Rock already too. So
yeah,
I just tried to make it more exclusive to myself. So like the way I even spell it, it's not like the letter D and then the word ready. It's like D and it's a dash and then it's an R3. The number 3 is like taking position as almost like an E.
Yeah.
And then it's D-D-Y. And then the reason I spelled it like that was because all my initials, my government name, all my initials start with a D. So it's kind of like a double kind of meaning with it to some degree for me.
Yeah.
Like it's like, so if you look at the spelling of my artist name, D-R3DDY, there's 3 D's in it, just like my initials.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then also I have my publishing name for my publishing side of my ASCAP and everything. That's 3 Dimension Productions. So I kind of had made a theme that's all kind of going with really it's like 3D.
Yeah.
Pretty much. So yeah, that's kind of also like, not to get super deep, but then like my dad gave me like when I was younger, he used to give me like what he would consider the meaning of all the 3D. He's like, oh, what are the 3Ds? It would be like, I think it was like desire, dedication, determination, or something like that.
Yeah.
So I could make it a deep convo if I wanted to talk about that. But that's pretty much all what relates to the spelling of my name and my initials and et cetera.
Interesting. Oh yeah, I was gonna ask like, was that 3Ds intentional throughout the family, or was that just like?
I never asked actually with that, so I'm not sure. I don't know. It could have been intentional for me. I don't know if he thought about that beforehand. Mm-hmm. I know my first name, even though it's Darren, well, my middle name was supposed to be my first name initially.
Okay.
But I have another cousin with the same name as my middle name, so he didn't want to rename me that, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is Devon. But yeah. So I guess he probably came up with the meaning. I'm assuming. I never asked, but I assume he probably came up with that more after I was born. Maybe he thought about it as I got older, kid or whatever. Yeah. So that's what it is.
All right, that's cool. The other thing I was gonna ask you, right? So we've kind of had a little bit of a conversation about this before, and it was how do you like to be greeted, right? Because usually I come in with a handshake, but you're like,
oh yeah,
you're like, what? How do you like? Do you prefer fist bump, handshake?
How do I like to be greeted? I mean, a handshake is fine. I just joke on you sometimes, but I know you do like the straight up handshake.
Yeah.
Like with everybody. I know you don't always do like the, how, there's different handshakes, which is fine. Like you're being yourself. So at the end of the day, that's fine with me. You know what I mean? But somebody greets me with a handshake, that's fine. I don't have no problem with that. I prefer that, especially if somebody I'm new that I'm meeting. That's fine with me.
Yeah. So. I find that handshake is good for when I'm meeting people, but at the same time, it's like I don't mind other ways. I think the reason that I do it is I just got used to meeting new people, and so I just go with a handshake. And then I felt weird about just like not doing it anymore, so I just keep consistently.
No, that's fine. I mean, that's, like I said, that's true to yourself. So like, don't go outside of yourself. That's how you do it. That's how your thing is, and that's keep doing it. You know what I mean? Ain't nothing wrong with it. You're showing respect at the end of the day, regardless. So you know what I mean.
So going back to the production questions and DJ questions, which came first? Was it production or becoming a DJ?
So it's kind of, well, I guess if you want to be technical, it would be production.
Mm-hmm.
But I was gonna say it could have. Technically, it was production, but then in a sense, the desire to want to DJ may have actually came before production, or maybe it could have been around the same time, because when I was like 16, I used to work at the YMCA, and they had like, at the time they had teen parties there on like the Fridays or whatever, like for my age group or whatever. And I used to just do the little cash box for like anybody that wanted to buy snacks and stuff like that or whatever, and just kind of like enjoy watching the party. Cause I couldn't really party so much because I was supposed to be doing a job. Yeah. But I always like to, I paid attention to the DJs that would come in there off and on and DJ, because obviously they're, getting a little teen party rocking or whatever, and I always wanted to know how to do it. But when I was 16, I don't think YouTube was around just yet. Like, I think YouTube came around like maybe when I was like 18, 19 or something like that. Or it could have been in the beginning. Actually, no, it could have been in the beginning stage actually when I was 16. I'm not going to age myself that much. But, But it wasn't like, even YouTube when it began to what it is now, it wasn't so much like how people call it. Like, I'm sure you heard of the term YouTube University. Yeah. Where, you can look up things and you can pretty much find whatever you're looking for nowadays. When it first started, it wasn't really like that. So I don't know how many, I didn't really search for those type of things back then on YouTube, but I don't know that there was even a lot of content for people wanting to learn how to DJ through YouTube and things like that. It wasn't just as simple as this group. You had to like kind of know somebody, or know somebody who just had DJ equipment that you could, they could teach you themselves. So it wasn't like easy accessible, like how even with Beyond the Bars now they're trying to make that a thing. You know what I mean? And I'm sure there's other programs throughout the country that do similar things with music, and it's more accessible now, but back then it wasn't. But yeah, as far as the question you asked, though, technically it was production, because I got familiar with it through my other boys, Fred and Alex, and then they had another homie who's a friend of mine as well now, James, who's a little bit older than us, James Rose. He was doing production for like I think he did some tracks on like Music Soul Child, and a few other R&B artists. Like I think Headley was another one, another R&B artist from like the 2000s or whatever. So he was doing dope stuff, and I remember like one time I got to get in the studio, not to work, but I got to come to the studio that he was working in at the time with Fred and Alex, and just kind of witness what he was doing, and that was real inspiring to me. You know what I mean? Like, just like I was like, I wanted to find out that as well. Like, dang, how do you get into this? Like, how do you do music production? Like, how do you, And then Fred and Alex, they had got Fruit. That's what actually, even though I love Logic now, that's what I work on now. Fruit is where I first got familiar with, even though I didn't get really good at it on Fruit so much, but they were doing a lot of beats where they were sampling a lot and using the Fruity Slicer or whatever it was called, and chopping up samples. I didn't really get too good at that, so I just made like a few beats on Fruit, but they weren't really that good. But they were something, but not the special if you ask me. But yeah, so that's how I got familiar with it. Then, down the line, I ended up going to school in New York, and I was with Fred and Alex as well there. And then they kind of showed me more how to, they gave me more of a lesson in teaching of how to really produce on that side of things in Logic. And that's when I picked up Logic, and I've been learning ever since then, because I went to a school for sound audio engineering in New York.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, so that's pretty much where I picked it up. So I'll say, production first, then the DJ came. DJing came down afterwards when my laptop at the time was actually just getting I was running out of space, and it was moving real slow. It was becoming like obsolete, because the computer that I had. So I couldn't really, do the production that I wanted to, like normal on that computer. So then, same friends, Fred, he was part of a band, and they wanted a DJ. So I bought DJ equipment, because I was like, I could be the DJ for their band or whatever. Yeah. And then his cousin Alex, he kind of did the same thing, and then we paired up. So that's pretty much how that all came about. he's still DJing to this day, like 10 years later. So.
Yeah, because I seen how'd that gig? What was it? Friday, I think. How'd it go?
How'd it go? It was pretty good because it was a nasty weather day that day, but so the turn it was like slow a little bit in the beginning, but then it had a good turnout, decent turnout. I still see the potential for it to be even greater than what it was, but I think there was still about 100 something people there or something like that. So it was good.
That's good.
Yeah, man.
I was gonna ask. Because you said you mentioned Fred and I don't remember his other name.
Oh, Alex. Yeah,
Alex.
I mentioned that Alex. But
yeah. Did you start off like? Would you consider like you start off as like a group, or did you start off by each other's like making your own careers and then like kind of grouped up now, or is?
Yeah. So Fred, Alex, and then my other boy Raj. They were actually a group in the beginning. They teamed up and were like a producer trio. Yeah. So I wasn't a part of that. I was like alongside them, but in the beginning I was just kind of an individual producer as far as like learning production and stuff like that. So they were doing it as a team for a while, and they were making some good stuff while we were like, especially while we were out in New York. They produced like some unreleased stuff for like Nipsey Hussle. They produced a few tracks for like French Montana, and who else? Some other names off and on, in the industry or whatever. But then I know I wouldn't say they necessarily like had an official breakup, but I guess there was a point where they just stopped. Yeah, I guess they must have kind of broke up their production team. I don't think there was no little films or nothing like that, but I guess maybe at some point. I wasn't part of that, so I'm assuming they broke it up, but then later down the line, pretty much like years later, once I kind of got my production chops up, then we kind of just decided to form, like his cousin was already DJing together, and then it was kind of like, I want to say it was a little bit almost the same time, like, because Fred plays drums, so we would do our DJing and add him to the mix with the drums, and then we also, all three of us produced, so then we kind of just teamed up and did some music production here and there too, so it all kind of that part kind of came together not within the last, I want to say maybe 4 or 5 years or so. I have to keep track how long we've been doing the Champion Sound thing. That's what it's called. All three of us.
Champion Sound.
But yeah, so to answer that question, though, like pretty much they were a group first. I was my own entity, and then we teamed up later on. We was always friends throughout the whole time, but I wasn't a part of their group in the beginning. But now we're kind of doing some more group stuff. Like the Champion Sound and the Assassins, me and Alex as DJs.
Yeah. What's the other question I had?
You still see me good and everything?
Yeah, everything's good.
Okay.
Hold on. Okay, right. When it comes to production, right? Do you sell your beats online, or do you have to know the person? It's that kind of thing.
So I have put my beats online to sell. Haven't really sold. I've sold beats in person.
Yeah.
I haven't really sold a lot of beats online, and at some point I want to do that again. I still have a BeatStars. If you're familiar with that, or where a lot of producers sell beats. So I still have one of those pages. I have a bunch of old beats on it. Not a bunch. I have like a few old beats on there. But I want to revamp that. But as far as selling production, most of my beats that I've sold have been like, face to face, kind of like knowing the person, or meeting the person, and then just doing transactions that way. I haven't really sold anything online as far as beats goes. So but I'm not I'm definitely for it if it makes sense and people want to buy it.
Do you have any music out, like as far as like I mean, it doesn't even have to be all platforms, but like on YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud.
Yeah. I put out beat projects, like beat tapes, if you want to call it that, or beat albums. So I have about 2 projects out. One is my first project was like a beat album that's called First Dimension. Then I have a few like just instrumental singles that I dropped, and then I also have my last project I dropped. I think that was 2022, or 2022 or 2023. I gotta look back at it, but it was my I did a lo-fi beat project.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like lo-fi beats. But yeah, and one single that I dropped did pretty good. It got like playlisted on a good amount of playlists. Well, good for me at least. I don't know. Some people may not be that great, but it did like 8,000 streams on its own.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, so I got projects. Yeah, all those projects. If you just look me up, D-Ready, the same way I was saying, it's spelled like D, and the -/R3DDY.
Yeah.
You can find all my stuff on all the platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, all that stuff, TikTok, whatever. Yeah.
There. You plan to do it as like a series? Because you said you got the first dimension. You plan to do the second and third?
Yeah, I would eventually want to do it. That's why I named that first project. That was my very first project I ever dropped myself. So that's why I named it First Dimension, because it's like when you do, I mean, some things, and I know sometimes people come up with volume 1 or part 1 or whatever, and they never pick it back up. But I did it just for, 1, it was the first project, and then 2, the dimension thing, like I said, it kind of is incorporated with like how I named my publishing 3-dimension productions. And like if I wanted to do an outline of how I would do it, because for the first dimension series, if I'm gonna make that a series, even though it's just the one project so far, basically the first project is all instrumental. So my outlook on it, like I had this outlook from like the beginning when I put it out. So even though I haven't figured out when I want to do the rest of the things and map out the other 2 projects, there's like a 3 series of projects, what they call a trilogy. But basically the second project in my head initially, it was to be like half instrumentals, half full songs with artists, and then the third album, if I make it to a third dimension, then that would be like a full album with full songs versus like how the first project was all instrumentals. The second project will be like half and half, and then the third project will be all like records that I just produce and then have artists all on each record. You know what I mean?
Would you rap on your third one, or?
You said what?
Would you rap on your third one or second one?
I mean, potentially I wouldn't mind adding my own if I was. I'm not really. I don't consider myself a rapper. I do have a song out with Fred though that I did rap on. Which is one of my songs that I produced. That's on Spotify as well. I did that song though. That song though, even though I did it, typically probably if I was considering myself a rapper, then I probably wouldn't be rapping like that on every other song. But that song I rapped how I rapped, and I was doing it more so around trying to. We made the song because we were trying to get it on the video game NBA 2K at the time.
Oh, okay,
about like 5 years ago. But they had submissions to do that back then, so that's
something I was about to ask you.
Came out, but in the first place. Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, that I potentially would do that. I wouldn't be against that. You know what I mean? Add up, getting on one of my own songs. Because like I said, at minimum, even if I wasn't rapping, I may do a hook or something. You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, I wouldn't be against that. So I'll be for that.
Now that you mentioned the 2K thing, it kind of led into my next question. Do you have advice for sync licensing? I think you mentioned it before.
The only advice that I can really give, so like sync licensing, that's the thing that I'm trying to get off the ground. Like I know, at this point I have familiarity with it and I know about it and I know kind of the ways to go about submitting or getting like, sync briefs for people. Like you can subscribe to different, there's certain emails that are free actually that they'll send you like different sync briefs to your email to say, okay, we need a track that sounds like this. A lot of times they'll tell you what they're paying, like what the payout is off the beginning, and then you pretty much just have to. The main thing one of the things I'll just tell you what somebody told me that has a lot of sync placements that I got to kind of interact with recently which was that just kind of you want to it's kind of one of those things where it's like if you like how they say if you stay ready you don't gotta get ready. I don't know if you ever heard that line before.
Yeah.
But so as far as my pertaining to sync licensing, basically what the guy told me is just to keep building your catalog pretty much because in all different various ways, like just to have a lot of like a lot of volume, pretty much just making like so like if you're an artist or a rapper and you're making songs, like just continue to keep making songs, and if you're willing to branch out sometimes even outside of what your normal sound is, then make other types of songs too, because you never know. Let's say you made like somebody wanted you to make a kid's song, you know what I mean? Some kid rap song, however that would sound. I don't know what that would sound like to you right now, but let's say you did something like that, and then the producer was able to submit that same song to, you know, I don't even know what the popular cartoon, like Nickelodeon network. I don't know if those things even still like really show kids shows like that or not, but you know, Nick Jr., whatever, anything like that. Let's say they submitted it to that and it got picked up, then it could be a big check for you later down the line. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, or even if it's not a big check, it could be a nice little check sometimes. Because a lot of sync stuff they're paying thousands of dollars and more. You know what I mean? Sometimes sometimes some of the checks or some of the payouts are like 6 figures sometimes. Not 6, no, rather I don't know. Well, there's probably some that are 6 figures. I should have said 6 or average. Like probably there's a lot that are like you could get thousands of dollars. Then there's some that you can get tens of thousands. Let's say that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So my recommendation would just be to continue creating and create as much. Don't go outside. Like never force anything. Like don't like. I wouldn't do anything just for the money, of course. Like still make what's within what you do, but just continue to make records. You know what I mean? That's pretty much that would be my advice for sync licenses, because I haven't really got any sync license placements yet, but I plan to, and I know, and just building connections. You know what I mean? Because also, like I said, you can collaborate with somebody. Like you may know a producer, and if you collaborate with a producer on a certain song, it may just sit in their libraries for a while. But if they're a producer that submits to different sync opportunities, then as long as you make sure you discuss that with the producer, most people. I mean, I don't have a problem. Like most people do 50-50. So as long as you got that clear, just clear that up. If that was the thing with a producer in the future, then if they get a $5,000 check from a sync license and opportunity, then you're getting $2,500. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just stuff like that. So it's just building your catalog, keep creating with producers, and just just building your catalog. That's all I can suggest. I'm still trying to get into it myself, so I can't give the most advice, but that's the advice that I was given, is to just keep creating and keep building your catalog, building your library.
Are you able to make like unreleased, or I guess like exclusive songs for certain?
Yeah, so that's how it will go. A lot, there'll be different opportunities where they'll want them to be exclusive. Now, that's a question that I actually even have to ask the guy that I know now, who was giving me advice on how to kind of get things in the right order with sync licensing. But because I'm not sure, even though I know what exclusive means and I know what non-exclusive means, but I'm not sure even with the exclusives if you can still like put those records out and stream. I guess you should be able to, but I don't know how that works, if it would get picked up or not, like if you have to take it down or not. I'm not 100% sure, but
that would remind me of kind of like how soundtracks work, where like you're able to release it to a certain degree, but it's owned.
Oh, say it one more time. I didn't hear you.
Oh, okay. I was saying like I guess that kind of reminds me of how like they'll release soundtracks for movies, and they're able to release it, but I guess it's kind of owned by the movie who produced. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. I guess. Yeah. Well, I don't know about the movie thing specifically, but in general, like I was saying, yeah. Like if it's an exclusive license, usually from what I know it to mean, that means they can only that part. Like if you gave one of your songs to a company to use for an exclusive deal, then that means only they should have it. Typically, that's what that means. So like you couldn't give it to one company and then another company is using it at the same time. Like if there was an exclusive license, but there was probably like a contract agreement to say, okay, they're gonna use your song for 1 year, and then after that year, then the contract is void. So then you can use that song somewhere else.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? But if it was like some contracts are, what's it called again? I think it's perpetuity or something, or perpetual, meaning like forever.
Yeah.
So if it's something like that, I may have to Google that just to make sure I'm not giving you the wrong term. But I think those type of licenses, though, so in that case, that would mean you can't use it for anything else at that point. But I'm not sure how typical that is or isn't in the sync game. I know exclusive licenses are typical and non-exclusives are typical. But yeah, I'm not sure if like the contracts or the things that come along with those are, you know, the contracts say they're forever, or you know, they're just using it for a certain amount of time. It probably varies. But yeah, that's I forget what's the last question you just asked, but what's the last thing you just said? What were we talking about right now?
It was whether you're able to like put out the song that you made exclusively for the whoever you're sync licensing for.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you're just making a custom track that's just for that group, that's fine. If you're using something that you already have, like I said, that's fine as long as it's not a track that's already probably in some other obligation to somebody else, another company if it's exclusive. If it's not exclusive, then that means you can use that track over here. You can use it at Burger King, you can use it at McDonald's, you can use it at Popeyes, you can use it at Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's the non-exclusive means it's not exclusive to anybody. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, that's pretty much the difference as far as that goes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
What is the other thing? I was going to talk about... Oh, yeah. I was trying to think of the other question. Right, so how does sampling work during... I guess, like, in a legal sense, right? Because, you know, there's websites like Tracklib and, Splice, I think. And they'll allow you to sample everything royalty-free. But then I've heard that whenever they like put it up, and then suddenly like you'll hear about some lawsuit that just happened. So how does that work?
I guess it varies. I'm not gonna say that I know all this. I know what I know, but I don't know that everything that I know is like fact or it's like, you know, up in the air. But the things that I know is like just like Splice, those loops are supposed to be not royalty free, like you said. So the things with that, the thing with the royalty free stuff, or like loops off Splice, for example, the backdraw of it is if you're using like the thing you want to do if you're producing, in my opinion, is like you want to kind of chop those loops up, or you want to what's the way to put it? You kind of just want to mangle the loop almost to make it sound different from what it is. Because if you just like, I don't typically do this, but like, or even if I do this, I add to it. Cause like some people will take a loop, and then they'll just put like loop A with loop B, and they don't change anything else with it. So like, let's say they have one loop that's a melody, and they have a second loop that's a drum loop, and that's all they put together.
Yeah.
They'll just put. Some people don't really mess with the actual loop. They just put everything together, and that can be fine. But the thing is, when you got something like Splice, I'm sure millions of people download off of Splice. So if you're like, what wouldn't be recommended is if you're doing, you know, sync. I don't know if this is still related to sync licensing or just a general question in general. But if it's sync related, like if it's sync licensing related, they don't like a lot of the samples. They like for you to be able to make stuff from scratch, as far as what I've heard, because they're you know, once they're using your stuff, they don't want, like you said, they don't want to get any type of lawsuits or get any type of copyright strike to say, because if you, like, let's say you submit to a sync licensing company for something and they use your loop, but then you realize maybe like another producer like produced something for, I don't know, Beyonce or somebody, and then that same loop is in her song, and her song is the bigger song, then potentially she could kind of come forward to say, oh, y'all sampled my track, or the producer that produced that could probably say that, something like that, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. So, you know, when it comes to that, that's why I say you kind of want to just not leave it as plain as it is. A lot of times you want to chop stuff up, or be adding to what it is. But I like I said, when it comes to sync license and stuff specifically, they don't prefer loop sound. I think they want you to make stuff from scratch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everything you can. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah. I was watching this one video talking about the problem with AI and music, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it was talking about apparently because of how new it is, it's not copyright is kind of weird. And so one thing that artists have been experiencing, I think, or I don't remember if they said it's already happened or if it can happen, but basically what they were saying is like you can make AI do a type beat, right? So you put the artist and then a type beat. And because whenever the actual artist releases anything, if it sounds too much like the AI, the website could sue you for that. And
yeah, the AI stuff, I don't know all the ins and outs because with music, I still don't use a lot. I mean, I have programs that do utilize AI, like programs where you can master the tracks. So for that aspect, that's not really nothing to do with copyright. But yeah, I'm not sure how that works with all the new AI technology and stuff, and copyright and infringements and lawsuits, whatever, all that stuff. I think that's still like a thing that's developing to some degree. I'm sure they may have some type of paperwork on what you can and can't do.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna act. I have no familiarity with it. You know what I mean? So yeah.
For now, I'm not too sure how it would work out. I feel like AI shouldn't be able to own like the copyright to things that they use. And the main reason I believe that is because they sample a lot of things that like other people have made. And it's not like they create their own thing. It's more of like one thing that I noticed with AI is that it uses a lot of the popular stuff and kind of blends them together.
Yeah.
So there's only a specific amount of things, even though it's pulling from a bunch of sources. It's like it's only pulling from a very few minimal, and so it feels more like it's copying it instead of trying to make something new.
Okay. Yeah.
But I'm not too sure how it's all gonna work out in the future.
Yeah, it should be interesting. I'm not sure how it's gonna be either, but we will see. We will see soon how that works out.
Also, there's what is it? Oh, lately they said Spotify made like $1.5 billion dollars. It's been the most profitable year so far. They said they're gonna start adding benefits for podcasters, I think, where you'll be able to do videos and also do like your own podcast.
Yeah.
I'm also not too sure about it. I'm like, actually, I don't know where I was leading into that.
Yeah, I mean, I think me and you had a brief convo that time about the stream when I was asking you about like how you put your projects out and things like that.
Yeah.
I want to put your projects out. And yeah, I mean, Spotify and pretty much majority of the streaming services, they are kind of still robbing the artists as far as like they're making bank, they're making all the big money, but yeah, the artists aren't really reaping the benefits and getting like the pay that they deserve. Because a lot of them streams, they give you 0.0 cents, or 0.003 cents for every stream or whatever. Different platforms, they all differ a little bit, but still not really, reasonable or for anybody who just tries to strictly do music. You can, especially that way. I mean, you could, like I said, if you're doing the numbers with the way the streams equate to money right now. I mean, if you're doing a certain amount of streams, you can make a living off of it, I guess. Like if you're getting millions of streams, or 500,000 streams, you can make some decent money off of it. But you got to get that many, and that's not super easy for everybody to do. So unless you're getting the amount of streams, it's hard to make income off of doing that. So you know what I mean, streaming alone. So yeah, even with that, like if you could sell stuff direct, I mean, if you could, I mean, I feel like today it is what it is, kind of to some degree. So it's like unless everybody just came together and said we're taking all our music off of streaming, then a lot of things aren't going to change, unfortunately, as far as what pay should be for artists and be compensated for their music. But other than that, I mean, the good thing I'll say on the one good thing I do look at though with the Spotify and the Apple Music and those things is that you can still reach an audience that you may never reach in person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it is cool, even though I don't agree with what they pay artists like I've been saying, but it is cool to see if I look at some of my streams, okay, somebody stream my music in Thailand, or somebody stream my music in Africa, or wherever they're at, you know what I mean? Brazil, it may only be a few streams here and there depending on which song I'm talking about or which project, but I see that on some of my streaming history, you know what I mean? That people are streaming my beats in different countries, and that's cool to see. You know what I mean? Because I don't get to know who the person is, but just the fact that my music is reaching in other countries is dope to me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's one pro I will say about streaming. But yeah, a lot of the other stuff is kind of some of them kind of the artists is they would say. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
I do think the thing that you mentioned with like artists taking their music down is a lot closer than we expect, but it's not in the way that you would think, right? It's not like the artist is taking it down. I think the label is gonna start taking it down, because UMG, I know they try to sue TuneCore, so I know that's one thing that's going on, and I know that they're trying to lately they've been trying to like host their own platform.
I think I know what you're talking about. But see, the thing is, too, a lot of these record labels, they're invested in Spotify specifically or other streaming companies. So they want the same models to stick around. I mean, if they come up with their own streaming service, then yeah, they may try to, like you said, I don't know if it was UMG or whichever one. Yeah. They may try to strip whatever music catalogs that are on those platforms. But then the other one, they're the investors for these companies, you know what I mean? For the Spotify's and the Apple Music and the Tidals, all these different companies. The labels are the people that be investing. They investing their money into it, so it's kind of like funneling the same way back to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Part of what I'm seeing is that Spotify does seem concerned though, because they're going into these other avenues that aren't music, and I'm thinking the reason is because like UMG is scaring them off to a certain degree.
Yeah.
So I guess they're trying to create like a backup plan in case something with UMG does go down, and they have to, because they did that with TikTok for a while before.
Yeah, I saw that, and I don't know why some of my music is weird, because some of my music actually came down off of TikTok, but I'm not signed to a label. I'm just, I just use my distributor. But
yeah, that's probably the reason.
It's weird because they didn't take down like my whole catalog. It's only certain songs, and I don't have any songs that I know of that have like samples and like, you know what I mean, like for big artist samples, just like splice stuff. But yeah, so I don't know.
I know there was also, I don't know if it still happens. I haven't heard of it as much, but I know there was also an epidemic a few months ago where it was like a lot of artists were getting their music taken down out of nowhere. I think fictitious streams, even if they weren't using bots, but yeah, that kind of happened. What's the other question I was going to ask? As far as teaching goes, do you have any advice that I could use?
As far as teaching other kids music production, stuff like that. My advice would just be to kind of just, be true to yourself, and don't be afraid of like not knowing everything. You know what I mean? Because sometimes you're gonna come across things that, especially for like if you're getting kids that are really interested in music or have a familiarity with certain things. Because some kids are real technically savvy in some of the music stuff, or some kids are already like, oh yeah, I've been making beats in Logic or FL Studio or whatever. So, don't be afraid to just not know everything. You know what I mean? Like sometimes there's still stuff that I don't know or I'm not familiar with in production, and I've been doing it for probably, like I said, since 16 with the FL, but then like 19 with Logic and stuff like that. But it's still stuff that I don't know. I just know my workflow. So I mean, And there's nothing wrong with, if you have access to Google still and stuff like that. There's nothing wrong with looking at those things up, because I know I do that sometimes still with y'all.
Yeah.
Like if it's something I don't know, like I know somebody was asking me about auto-tune in Logic, which I don't use Logic. I don't really do a whole lot of stuff with auto-tune in general, just because I'm not really recording myself so much, or any artists that are using auto-tune.
Yeah.
Even though tons of artists use auto-tune, but I'm not doing a whole bunch. I'm not recording a whole ton of artists, so I don't really mess. I have a Waves version of auto-tune that's a little bit better than the stock Logic auto-tune, but I had to look that up the other day just to see what was what with that, and how to work it or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're not gonna know everything, and then that's fine. And then other than that, just like I said, stay true to yourself as far as whatever your strong points are, and what you know about production, and just kind of vibe with the kids, and fill them out, and kind of just find like that good middle ground to build. If they have an interest in it, just kind of try to keep building on that interest, and building a rapport.
Yeah.
And that's all you can really do. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, so that'd be my advice. Just keep a good rapport with kids that you meet, and a lot of times, once you start showing them stuff that they have an interest in, it's gonna help build that relationship that y'all are developing. That's all I can really think. So.
Yeah. The other day I was working with this one kid, and he was like on the piano for a bit. Then he was like, "Oh shit, I gotta do my homework," and so I was helping with his homework. And then he started asking me to write it for him, because I was trying to explain it to him, and he was like sort of getting it slowly, but he was like, do it for me. I had to fake that I forgot how to spell it and all that.
We ain't here to do homework for kids, but but hey, if that's the thing where maybe y'all aren't really doing music at the time, and they want to, maybe if it's something that you're familiar with, and that's up to you though. That's to your discretion if you want to do homework though. But if it's there's nothing wrong with that, or talking about it, you know what I mean? If you got familiar with the topic, you know what I mean? Hey, if you want to get a little help, that's fine.
Yeah. I think the classroom, I think that was the most quiet it's been in the area. So, like, everything was chill, and I didn't really have much to do, so I was like, yeah, I'll help you. But I remember I was just like, I forgot how to spell, so I'm gonna need you to understand it first, and then I could translate it out, like, what is it, like, Google Notes, go like that, and then type it out. Last question I had was similarly to what we were talking about, right? So Norm mentioned how like a lot of artists go out from Philly, like we don't really have a lot of inspiration here. Well, kind of, right? But like these programs help us with that. Do you have a vision of what else we could do to make the Philly scene grow as far as music goes?
I mean, the main thing I would say is to keep collaborating and come together with as many different artists and producers, and people who dance or songwriters, or like basically just build. Because that's what I think I don't remember who I was talking to. I think I was talking to another teacher. I don't remember which teacher, but I think it was Miss Sophia actually. Now that I think about it, but a lot of Beyond the Bars is like its own community to some degree, you know what I mean? There's so many of y'all in different parts of the city. So it's like, basically it's like, I don't know if there's another word I'm looking for, but it's its own community. So y'all have a community of young kids your age and younger, and some older that, like I said, do all these different aspects of artistry, whether it's producing or songwriting or singing or playing instruments, bands, all that type of stuff. So y'all pretty much have the it's a word I'm looking for, but I can't think of what it is. I know what it is, but I can't think of it. But y'all pretty much have the what's that word I'm looking for? Well, basically network.
Community?
Is that word I was looking for, but pretty much y'all have the network of connections of y'all as students and musicians amongst y'all your own age group, where you can connect with different artists and different like I said, songwriters, producers, etc. So as long as y'all build that, and then y'all build a rapport, people, it's good to have, just keep building connections, because then when it comes time, you know, if any of the people that you meet along the way, just even beyond the bars, if they go travel to, you know, Atlanta or Los Angeles or, you know, wherever, Florida, wherever they're at, then you could always have those connections, you know, that where if you are working on some music in the future or they may need you for something in the future, you know, like y'all be able to have that rapport with each other pretty much. So, that would be my advice, just to keep.
Thank you for your time, Darren.
No problem.
I'm gonna. Oh yeah, hold on, real quick. I got the, what's it called? The keychains that I was telling you about last time. I got them in.
Okay, dope.
So I'll give yours. What is it? Tuesday? If you'll be there.
Yep.
All right.
Sounds like a plan to me, bro.
All right. Thank you, Darren.
No problem. You got any time, man. I'll catch you on Tuesday.
All right. See ya.
All right, peace, bro.